Welcome to Short Movie Channel. The movie starts with a woman named Soline, who is 39 years old. She's talking to her friend and tells her that she decided to spend her vacation at a camp to get a change of scenery. After that, Soline goes to drop off her daughter Lizzie and her friends at the house of her ex-husband, Daniel, because he's supposed to take them to a concert for a famous band called August Moon. From the way Soline looks at him, it's clear she still has feelings for Daniel. They once had a deep love story, but it ended tragically when he cheated on her with his secretary, Eva. Daniel notices that Soline is tense and doesn't want to shake his hand. He invites her to come live with him and his wife Eva, but Soline refuses and walks away. When she gets back home, she starts packing for her camping trip. But then Daniel shows up unexpectedly with Lizzie and her friends, and he apologizes to Soline because he can't take them to the concert. He had some work issues. So of course, Soline ends up canceling her camping trip and drives her daughter and her friends to the concert herself. She also decides to stay with them during the event to keep an eye on them, since she knows how reckless they can be. Soline goes to sit in a quiet area away from the noise, and there she chats with a fan of August Moon. The woman asks Soline who her favorite member of the band is. Soline says she doesn't know anything about the band, she's just there to watch over her daughter. Then Soline leaves to find the restroom but accidentally walks into the dressing room of a guy named Hayes, who turns out to be a member of the band. She has no idea he's famous. Hayes is surprised that she doesn't recognize him even though he's super well known. He introduces himself and tells her he's the lead singer of August Moon. Soline gets really embarrassed and keeps apologizing, but Hayes tells her there's no need. Just then, his stylist arrives to get him ready for the concert, so Soline quickly excuses herself and leaves. Before the concert, we see the band members gathered for a fan meet and greet. When it's Lizzie's turn to meet them, she asks her mom to come with her. Soline agrees, but she's clearly uncomfortable and doesn't know what to say, especially when she notices Hayes looking at her a lot. Soline introduces him to her daughter Lizzie to let him know she's not as young as he might think. Hayes is totally shocked to learn she has a teenage daughter. Later that night, the concert begins. There's a huge crowd because the band is one of the most famous in all of America. At the end of the show, Hayes thanks the audience and says he met the most beautiful woman in his life that night. He dedicates a song to her, one he wrote himself. Soline immediately realizes he's talking about her, especially since he's staring into her eyes while singing. But she doesn't take it seriously. She thinks there's no way a relationship between them could happen. To her, she's practically old enough to be his mom. The next day, we see Soline celebrating her 40th birthday with her friends. They ask her how she feels about turning 40, and she tells them it's a weird feeling, especially because she had her daughter when she was very young. She still can't believe how fast time has passed, but at the same time, she feels incredibly grateful for all the beautiful moments she's lived. At her birthday party, Soline meets 3 men, but none of them are a good match. The first guy is way too eager and wants to jump into a relationship without even getting to know her. The second one is just boring to her. And the last one? A total player and a cheater. The next day, Soline arrives at work at the Antique and Art Gallery and is surprised to see Hayes there. She asks him what he's doing, and he tells her he wants to buy some antiques for his new house. He asks her to help him pick out the most elegant pieces in the gallery. So Soline takes him on a tour and explains that all their work is created by visual artists, and the best part is that everything is handmade. Hayes is fascinated by her words and ends up wanting to buy all the antiques and paintings in the gallery. Naturally, Soline is shocked and tries to make him understand that the artists who created these works are some of the most skilled in America, and it's not okay to just buy everything just because he has the money. Hayes assures her that he really does plan to decorate his house with these items because he's never seen such beautiful art before. He also tells her he wants to see more pieces. Soline feels flattered, thinking he bought everything just to get closer to her. At the same time, she's impressed by his way of talking. She tells him she'll take him to the storage room so he can pick out more pieces he might like. But the problem is that the press is standing outside the gallery to photograph Hayes, and Soline is super nervous about the situation. Hayes tries to calm her down and tells her he's used to the press always being around him. He insists they take her car to the storage room because the press recognizes his car and would follow them the whole way. So Soline agrees, and they leave together in her car. On the way, Hayes wears a cap to hide his face so no one recognizes him. Within minutes, they arrive at the storage room, and he is amazed by the beauty of the antiques and paintings. He stops in front of a beautiful painting and asks Soline to describe how it makes her feel. She really likes his question and tells him that the painting expresses all the beautiful emotions inside a person. He enjoys her response and asks her what she studied. She says she studied art history at university and has a master's degree in fine arts. Then she asks him to tell her more about himself. Hayes tells her he's originally from England but moved to the US to be with his team. Soline smiles, still doubting that he came to the storage room just because he loves art. She doesn't really believe it. Hayes tells her he truly does love art, but the real reason he came is because he's attracted to her personality. There's something different about her compared to all the other women he's met. What stood out the most to him was that she didn't know who he was, which is rare. Almost every woman he meets likes him just because he's famous and good-looking. Soline is a little thrown off by his words and changes the subject. Later, they get in the car so she can drive him back to the hotel he's staying at. On the way, Hayes says he's really hungry, so Soline invites him to have lunch at her place. She tells him her daughter isn't home, and of course, Hayes agrees right away. When they get to her house, they prepare lunch and sit down to eat together. Hayes asks her about her love life. Soline tells him that she once loved a man named Daniel when she was 18. They were so in love that they got married right away and had their daughter, Lizzie. They lived beautiful years together. But over time, she started to feel that Daniel had changed. He didn't love her the same way anymore, even though her feelings for him never faded. She tried not to overthink it and continued living her life normally. But 3 years ago, she was out having dinner with her husband and some friends. By coincidence, the topic of cheating came up, and she noticed everyone went quiet when she mentioned it. Daniel looked tense and wouldn't meet her eyes. When they got home, Soline told him she knew everything, just to see how he'd react. To her surprise, he apologized and admitted he had been cheating on her. He said he was in love with his secretary, Eva, and that things had already progressed between them. Soline was heartbroken and couldn't handle the shock, so she left him immediately. Hayes feels really bad after hearing her story and tells her that not all men are like her ex-husband. He encourages her to give herself another chance at love because she's a beautiful and kind woman. Just then, Soline's phone rings. She gets up to answer it. When she comes back, she finds Hayes playing the piano in her living room. She tells him he plays beautifully. Suddenly, the two of them get closer. But when Soline realizes what's happening, she pulls away and tells him what they're doing is wrong. He's young enough to be her son. But Hayes believes love has no age. Still, Soline asks him to leave because she needs some time alone. Hayes respects her wishes and leaves. Shortly afterward, Lizzie comes home and notices her mom is nervous. She asks what happened, but Soline dodges the question and says it's just a hot day. Later, Soline takes Lizzie to summer camp, says goodbye, and returns home. That night, she's shocked to find a message from Hayes. He tells her he wants to see her again, and says he'll be in New York City for the weekend. He even gives her the name of the hotel he's staying at and asks her to come see him there. At first, she ignores the message. But then she watches videos of him singing, and it's clear she's also into him. Eventually, she decides to go to New York. She shows up at his hotel and tells him she knows he purposely left behind his watch just to have an excuse to see her again. Hayes smiles, and the two of them move closer once more. The next day, Soline wakes up feeling happy. She goes to see Hayes and tells him she had the best night of her life yesterday. He tells her he feels even happier than she does, and then asks her to come with him to the concerts he's going to do across Europe in the coming period. Soline hesitates and makes an excuse, saying she has work. But Hayes isn't convinced and asks her to tell him the real reason. She admits, nervously, that she's afraid people might see them together. Hayes reassures her and says he'll introduce her to everyone as his new manager. As for his bandmates, he tells her not to worry, they would never leak a secret. His words convince Soline, and she agrees. Days go by, and we see her traveling with him to many European countries. She's really happy watching him sing on stage. One day, they're sitting together in Paris, but the problem is that someone secretly takes a photo of them without them noticing. The next day, the whole band gathers in a big house. Each of them has brought their girlfriend, and Hayes tells them he's in a relationship with Soline. But he asks them to keep it a secret. Soline feels a bit embarrassed because the band members are all dating girls in their early 20s. Still, to hide her nervousness, she goes to sit next to her boyfriend among the group. Then the band asks her to tell them how she met Hayes. She tells them everything in detail. One of the band members starts mocking Hayes for dating someone who could be his mother's age. Soline gets really upset by his words and goes to sit alone in the room. Hayes follows her to try to make it up to her, but he's surprised when she says she wants to break up. He tells her he loves her. Soline replies that she loves him too, but their relationship was a mistake from the start. She says people won't be kind once they find out about their relationship. Hayes says he doesn't care what people think, what matters to him most is being with her. But Soline tells him people will think badly of her, especially since she's a mother with a daughter close to his age. She breaks down crying, saying she got too attached to him and didn't want to break his heart. The next day, she returns home, feeling deeply depressed after leaving Hayes. A few days later, things explode when photos of her and Hayes go viral all over social media. She feels completely shocked seeing them and immediately goes to visit her daughter at camp to explain everything. Her daughter is very upset because her mom kept something like this from her. Soline breaks down in tears and keeps apologizing, telling her that she broke up with him 10 days ago. Lizzie starts to feel for her mom and asks if she still loves him. Soline admits she still does and can't forget him. Her daughter then encourages her to go see him and make things right again. She tells her mom not to worry about what people say, she'll always be there to support her. Touched by her daughter's words, Soline thanks her for the support. That night, she goes to meet Hayes at the studio and apologizes for the hurtful things she said the last time they spoke. She tells him she's been thinking a lot about their relationship and realizes she loves him and can't be apart from him. Hayes gets closer to her, and they get back together. Time passes, and we see the two of them going out together in public, no longer afraid of what people might think of their relationship. One day, Daniel visits Soline at home and starts arguing with her for dating a guy her daughter's age. He tells her the relationship is wrong and will have a negative effect on their daughter. Soline snaps back, telling him he has no right to interfere in her personal life since they've been separated for a long time. Daniel accuses her of losing her mind and storms out. Another day, Soline goes to pick up her daughter from school and notices she looks really upset. When she asks what's wrong, her daughter tells her that her classmates, and even teachers have been bullying her and saying mean things about her mom's relationship with Hayes. Soline asks what kind of things they're saying. Her daughter tells her that people think she's taking advantage of a rich and famous young guy for his money. Others think she's trying to relive her youth. Lizzie says she can't take it anymore and doesn't want to live with her mom right now. She's emotionally drained by all the gossip and asks to be dropped off at her dad's house. Soline is deeply affected by her daughter's words, but she drives her to her father's to give her some space. Later, back home, Soline reads the comments people are posting about her photos with Hayes. She's disgusted by how cruel they are, calling her immoral, saying she's taking advantage of guys young enough to be her son just to satisfy her desires. That night, Soline meets up with Hayes outside and tells him she can't continue the relationship anymore because her daughter has suffered too much because of it. Hayes says he's ready to quit his job and walk away from the spotlight so they can be together peacefully. But she refuses to let him give up on his dream for her. She asks him to break up calmly and not make things harder. Though heartbroken, Hayes agrees and walks away. Months pass, and Soline still hasn't been able to get over her love for Hayes. She cries every day about their breakup. Still, she feels some peace knowing people aren't gossiping about her anymore and have forgotten about the relationship. One day, Soline arrives at work and sits down at her desk. Suddenly, she hears a strange voice outside. When she goes to check, she's shocked to see Hayes. Of course, Soline is overjoyed to see him, but she also knows that any relationship has to have boundaries. Two people can't just be together without understanding what they're getting into. And that's where the movie ends. If you enjoyed the film, give us a like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.